Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. You should be able to hear me if your technology is working. It's kind of like a 3-4 part check here. If your technology is working, you have the misfortune of seeing me. There should be a video available to you. You should be able to hear me. And you should be able to see a PowerPoint slide. I'm getting a lot of feedback, and one way to try to minimize that is to don't leave your microphone on all the time. Sometimes you get feedback if you leave your talk button down or your microphone on. So anyway, welcome everybody. My clock on my computer says 5:31. We always start on time. We always end on time or earlier. So welcome everybody. If you're having technology problems, hopefully this will be the only week you have those problems, and by the next couple of days we can get all those kinks ironed out. But again, you should be able to hear me, see a PowerPoint slide. If you're missing any of those pieces, you probably need to seek out some technical assistance. I've taught this course many times, sometimes all face-to-face, sometimes all online, sometimes a split hybrid version. I'm teaching this class because I want to. I like it. Each semester I try to add things, change things, improve things. So you'll get some opportunities to try some new things I'm trying this semester. I try to keep myself fresh that way. But anyway, welcome. And I know some of you probably have never had a Collaborate session before, so we'll assume you will be struggling through tonight to kind of try to figure this out, but you'll have a quick learning curve. It's kind of like when you go swimming. You keep dipping your big toe into the water to feel how cold it is, but eventually you kind of have to just suck it up and dive in the water no matter how cold it is. Trying to give a cold metaphor here with our cold weather. It's kind of how I see this. The best way to learn Collaborate is to kind of just go through and make mistakes and not quite know what you're doing for a while until you pick it up. So anyway, here's my now you should see a new slide if things are working for you. These are my objectives for tonight, so let's see if we can meet these. Always try to have an objective, but we're going to be working together for about 15 or 16 weeks, so this is kind of the beginning of a learning community. I guess those are two overused words these days, learning community, but I think you'll find me fairly laid back in most regards, but very serious about wanting and expecting you to learn. You know, I want my kids to have administrators that know what they're doing, or leaders that know what they're doing. So that's a very serious point that I won't deviate on, but I do like to have fun, and I do like to interact with you and learn along with you, so I hope you're going to find that refreshing approach. We're going to really not dive too much on course content tonight, but at least we can get you kind of set up a little bit to start thinking about the course. Some of you might be non-math people. Don't get too concerned. I only had 2 years of high school math myself, so you don't have a mathematician teaching the course. So if I can do the math in this course, anybody can do the math in this course, so don't have a panic attack about that. And there are, quite frankly, I think some very interesting issues that are finance issues that don't have a thing to do with mathematics and calculations. And I think you'll see a lot of very interesting ways to look at education kind of with an eye toward the finance side. Hopefully by the end of the night you'll feel a little bit more comfortable with CourseDen, but probably more so with Collaborate. We want to make sure you know where to turn to for assistance with technical issues, because we want those to be solved this week. We don't want those to be lingering on throughout the course. And it's obviously what you do in one of the first sessions of a course generally is to have some familiarization with the course and with expectations, although I'm going to defer most of that to next week, because that would give you enough time. By next week you will have had time to read essentially the items I have posted in Module 1, which is kind of your organizing information. You would have had time to look over the assignments. You would have had time to look over the syllabus. So by next week, I'll assume that you can be prepared to have any questions or don't understand how your grade's calculated, that kind of stuff, really more next week rather than tonight. So let me pause again, see, getting you healthy with using the equipment here. If you could have figured out how to do a thumbs up, or you can type an OK. Let's just do a quick check here. Are you still hearing the OK and seeing the OK? This is a pause for just making sure. When you're teaching this class online, it's not like I'm looking at your lovely faces right now doing this. I'm totally dependent on your electronic feedback to me. So it seems like most of you seem to be progressing. Fair enough. And you're able to see a slide, yes? If so, let me just move right on. Here's our agenda for tonight. Again, I hope you're going to see that I typically have a plan. I have a structure, try to keep us moving pretty briskly. I try to make these sessions very useful to you and not just be busy work that's wasting your time. You'll have other things you could be doing right now, including me. So we try to make the most out of the time we have together and try to really get a lot done in a short amount of time. But we're going to have our welcome, which we just had. We just discussed the objectives. I have a slide on norms coming up next, or one of the next sessions, or slides rather. We're going to do a quick breakout session so you can kind of get practice with a breakout session, because often one of the reasons why we have these live sessions is to create situations for you to have some interaction. It's a much more, I think, relevant and quality learning experience if there's some actual live interaction with me and with each other. So most of the time when we have a live session, we do some breakout sessions. So we're going to do one of those tonight, kind of as a practice. I have some information about technical assistance and navigation issues, and I have some suggestions to get you ready for our next session next week. So if you're still hanging with me, let me keep right on moving. You guys are adults, you're serious adults, you're spending your money, you're spending your time, you're giving of yourself because you want to be better to help kids, you want to be a better educator, you want to be a more effective professional. So I anticipate zero issues, but I do want to generally comment in terms of the general expectations I would have for you, and I hope you can endorse these, but I would expect generally that we're going to have positive interactions with one another and in our activities and with peers and with me. I would assume you're going to be able to work collaboratively and equitably with classmates. There are deadlines for turning things in. There are reductions in points when you're late. So even though most of the work is done when you want to do it, there still are deadlines whereby which you need to have things done. So that's an expectation. It helps you. Believe me, I've studied this a lot and thought a lot about this. It keeps you more structured and on task and up to date with those deadlines, whereas if we just kind of let everything be self-paced. So I feel confident where we have this is best for you and for your learning. You're not going to be able to probably make every online session. You're going to have technical difficulties getting in and out. You've got to have a school board meeting. Somebody has to be late tonight because they have a school board meeting. I understand all that, but generally I would appreciate and expect that you can be here on time. If you can't make it, please let me know. If you have to be late, please let me know. I do keep track of who's here and who's not, but not for the reasons of wanting to punish anybody. It goes back to my comment earlier about I'm very serious about wanting to make sure that you are proficient in learning, and I take that responsibility very seriously. So if you can't make it, I want to make sure you haven't lost out on what we've done. That's the whole point of that, and we'll figure out a way to make that up. That's what's important to me, not punishing somebody for missing a class. But again, the respect issue is important with me, and I hope you're going to find that I'm very respectful and appreciative of you. But I will promise this last one is for me. I will be engaged actively, and I will be responsive. I have a pretty difficult schedule this semester. Sounds like I'm crying. I'm not, but I'm teaching 3 different preps. I don't think I've ever done that at the university before, and I have a very heavy dissertation load. So I only share that to say normally students have gotten used to being able to literally snap their fingers and get me to respond, while I'm still going to aspire to be able to respond almost immediately to you at all times. This is going to be one of the more challenging semesters for me, so you may have to wait a couple of hours after you send an email to get a response. So anyway, those are what I would offer to you as my norms, my expectations that I would have for us. I would ask you to think about those tonight when you go into your breakout group here in a minute. I'd like you just to discuss these briefly, or really now think about, are there other issues you've seen come up in online classes or with instructors that have kept you from being as successful as you could be as a student that you want to bring forward to me for us to have consideration to be on our norms list? I do want us to take this somewhat seriously, that we agree kind of a little miniature contract here that this is how we want to work together for the next 15 weeks. So I'm going to ask you to think about this and talk about this a little bit in your breakout session tonight, and then we'll revisit it again next week and probably the week after that, and see if we can affirm that these are the things that we kind of are committing to, that we're going to take care of our business together in this fashion. So let me pause again. I'm doing too much talking. You're doing too much listening. We're almost going to get to our breakout session here, but again, let's give you some practice with the tools here. Are you still seeing, hearing, thumbs up? Nobody's crashed out yet? Nobody's run out of the room yet? See, I have a very dry sense of humor, and if you were seeing, you got to learn. Janice, the one who I saw there first, maybe, who's the only one who may get an A for tonight because she gave a smile or a laugh. You have to laugh at my humor, even if it's not humorous. That's one of the rules. So if it's not funny, pretend like it is. Let's move forward. Let's think about going into our breakout session. Okay, again, primarily we just want to practice tonight how we will be doing this most of the time, but I'm hoping that by putting you, let me get a different icon. I'm getting tired of the smiley face. By putting you in this breakout session, you'll be a little more comfortable when we do it kind of for real the next time. It'll give you some practice. I'm giving you a chance to think about if there are any other norms that maybe you want to have kind of raised up the flagpole. And I have a simple issue, very simple, not very sophisticated, to kind of get you talking about some issues that are related to school finance, to maybe show that there are some interesting issues related to school finance. So those are the 4 things I hope we can accomplish with a very short breakout session. these are the two positions I'd like you to just have a little discussion about. And if you're really tuned into my organizational structure, you will find these under Module 6. The Module 6 has the information that you need to be aware of to be prepared for these sessions. And if you happen to notice that or figure that out already, you could have clicked in Module 6 and found today's date on there, and it would have told you what you could have done to get ready for tonight's session, and you would have seen these two positions previously, and you might have been able to think about them. But I'd like you to just talk about these a little bit. When you're in the breakout room, I'll have these in front of you, but the first position is obviously a very common one. You hear, and you've probably said this yourself, many educators have, that we need to fund our schools more. That'll make more of a difference. You know, America's falling behind. We're 40th in math achievement or whatever number it is. We need to spend more. Very common position. Many educators take that position. Kind of a contrary position, probably not taken as often by educators, might be something along the lines, you might hear somebody say something about basically we can't just keep spending more money. The issues are not issues that money can solve. And in this example, I chose to choose parenting to say that schools need to focus away from money and to holding parents more accountable, because we do know, Marzano tells us and other researchers tell us, that parental involvement, parental engagement is certainly one of the key factors in whether students are successful in school or not. So position 2 is essentially articulating that don't throw more money down the rat hole. We need to get parents' attention, to get parents engaged in some way. So these are two contrary positions that are school finance kind of related that might lead to some interesting conversation. So let me get this thing queued up. So here's your tasks for the breakout session. I'll let the computer just randomly throw you into a breakout room. There'll be about 4 of you in a room. Why don't you, number 1, introduce yourselves and where you work. If you have a microphone, use it. We need to start using that thing. If you don't have a microphone, down on the lower left-hand side of the screen, you can type using the keyboard. You can type to each other, but it'd be better if you can talk to each other. So introduce yourselves, where you work, start getting a little comfortable with each other. Number 2, if you can have a short conversation about norms or anything that you want to have considered, you'll have an opportunity again next week and the week after that to kind of tweak that norms list a little bit. And then the third thing to complete in the session, just make a few comments about the point-counterpoint issue, again, that being what we just discussed. And I'll have this on the screen so you'll be able to see it when you're in the breakout room. But just a few comments. This is very typically how we'll spend a good bit of the time in these live sessions, is in some interactive case studies, whatever, but we're just getting some practice on that tonight. So again, our 3 tasks: 1, introduce yourselves; 2, discuss the norms a little bit; 3, a few comments about the point-counterpoint. I'm just guessing about 12 minutes. I mean, again, tonight we're just kind of practicing, working our way through this. So it's about 12 till 6 right now. If you're clear on the instructions, and I'll ask you to give me a thumbs up now if you're clear. If you're clear on the instructions, I'll have the computers throw you in a room, and the computer will bring you back in 12 minutes or so. I can pop in and out of the rooms, and usually do, to make sure things are going okay, but I'm seeing mostly thumbs up. Yes? Let's try this. Let's practice this. Work out all the kinks here tonight. So let me get you thrown into the breakout room right now.
Is there a particularly high-performing school in Douglas County? Oh.
Okay, sorry guys. I hate that when I do that. I just yank you right out of there. I try to give you a warning in the type box because I can send messages to all of you, but I can't voice to all of you once you go into the breakout room. So sorry if you were probably right in the middle of a very deep and profound discussion or thought, and I took you away from that. But maybe you better write it down real quickly before you forget about it. But again, another check here. Did we get back to where you can hear me, see me? Okay, let me, normally, since we're trying to use tonight as a preparation exercise, normally I'll give you hopefully something interesting to discuss or an issue, and my typical response or procedure would be then after you've discussed it, I might send a slide into your room with my comments and then ask you to discuss my comments or my answer. So there might be two discussions, one where you discuss what you think the best response is, then I would send you what I think, then you can debate the merits of my ideas. If my audio is breaking up, a lot of times that's because some of you still have your microphones on. So you might want to check your mics and see that they're not on when you're not talking, because that causes a lot of breakup sometimes. Another suggestion is if it's really bad, sometimes the only thing that seems to work is to log out of the room and then come back in. So, sometimes you maybe have to do that. Does everybody think I'm breaking up really badly right now? Looks like it's a split decision on that. Okay, well, again, sometimes if you're getting feedback or some kind of distortion, it's because people in the class have their own mics still on. So anyway, I guess to finish my thought, or when we have breakout rooms, I may designate you to select somebody to come back and report out into the larger group. And it looks like this class is going to be around the 15, 16, 17 student number, which is, I think, is probably a pretty ideal number for us to be able to be really efficient and take care of some things. So I'm not going to ask you to report out tonight. I'm not sure what the right answer is on this. As I was eavesdropping on your conversations, many of you were splitting yourselves between both of these and seeing some merit to both positions, which is probably the case in most instances, is that each position that people seem to take probably has some merit and some validity. Unfortunately, we don't often look to see that validity in somebody else's position. But anyway, if you had technical difficulties in the breakout room, like with your microphones or whatever, that would be something else to probably try to get some technical support. So only you know that. I don't know. But I would expect you, I'm not going to tell you have to use a camera. You're welcome to use a camera. But it really is much more useful for you to actually have a microphone that works than to be forced just to be able to participate through typing. So please make an effort. If you don't have a microphone, I think they cost a few dollars literally. Let's try to make sure everybody can get a microphone that works pretty well. If you're willing to go along with me, let me just keep pushing forward here, okay? I've mentioned technical issues a couple of times tonight. Let me just say, if you don't know where to get help, I recommend you try and they have some extended hours this week to try to help out, but I think it's normally like an 8 to 5 operation. This number will get you somebody on this campus which is generally a lot better technical assistance than you're going to get from the support that's offered by the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia offers a 24/7 system that can sometimes help, but this is your best bet if you're having trouble with Collaborate. You can't get your microphone to work, you can't get into the classroom, you can't get videos to work on the website. Here's a common issue as far as getting in this classroom. Sometimes your computer updates, like you got in fine tonight, and then tomorrow night your computer does an automatic update, and then next week you try to get in and you can't get in after the update. Or some of you sometimes are going to be doing this from your office computer, and then the next week you're going to be home, or you're going to try to do it on an iPad or something. If you use multiple computers, you really need to check each of those you might be using to make sure you're going to be able to get into Collaborate from that piece of hardware, because it just varies. It's just crazy. And I don't know what to tell you about which browsers to use anymore. They used to recommend the Firefox. Now we're having Firefox has created some new, I'm not a computer person, but they have some new safety net where they're blocking all the videos now, and you literally have to tell it, you have to disable the protection and tell it to allow you to watch the videos. And some of you have already, I think, been having some trouble. This afternoon, our technology people told me some additional code to add to my videos that might make them work better, so hopefully that will work. So if you want to use Firefox, perhaps you can continue to try to use Firefox and see if the changes that I did this afternoon help. But I have switched over to using Chrome, even though I don't like Chrome, because my videos were working better with Chrome. One last point here. This is a direct link to the sign-in for the online classes. I suggest you bookmark that. Many of you probably log on to the D2L site through the West Georgia homepage, through the university homepage. Probably not the best thing to do, because sometimes the West Georgia site might be down, and if you don't know another way to get to the D2L site, then you wouldn't be able to get to it. So I would typically recommend that you bookmark this direct site so that you don't necessarily have to go through West Georgia. Normally what I like to do in these sessions, and thanks for Melissa for asking a question, I see she typed the question. Normally I'll pause every few slides to allow for questions to be typed. At the end of my comments, I'll stay online as long as anybody wants to stay on. So if you have a specific question about what you need that's just for you, you can hold off till the end of the session, and I will stay online and respond to individual questions as long as they exist. But if you have questions about what we're doing as we move through this, normally I stop, and normally I prefer the questions to be typed during this part, because that way I think we can move through a little bit quicker. So Melissa's question was, back a few minutes ago, will all of our sessions be recorded and posted to the CourseDin for later? And the answer is yes, and you will find the archive nested in Module 1, and I'll have it there probably within about 3 minutes after the time that I sign off tonight. So you will be able to go back, and in the archives you don't have to necessarily watch the whole session, you can go to bits and pieces of it. Still with me? I'm almost done for tonight. This is not fair. We're going to be done too early tonight. No fair. I'm seeing you guys are slow. You're slow. Somebody was supposed to be saying boo-hoo. We don't want to be getting out early. Look at that. Boy, we have got to get you guys in shape. That's too late, Gene. It's not considered genuine now. That even the emphasis on more doesn't fool me at this point. Here's my recommendation. I got some recommendations here. I think I've got about 2 more slides counting this one. There is a structure of organization to this class. If you haven't figured it out yet, spend some more time on the site. You should be able to figure it out. We have 4 months together, so we have 4 learning modules that correspond 1 module for each month, January, February, March, April. There are 6 total modules because the first module is our organizing module, and our 6th module is our organizing module for the online sessions. So you should be able to look right now at the January 14th item under Module 6, and it will tell you what you can do to prepare for the next week's session. So we have 2 kind of organizing modules and then 4 content modules. Each module has an overview that tells you exactly what to do, and you need to be looking at the discussion tab and the Dropbox tab. Those are where the assignments are located. So anyway, here's what I am recommending you do by the time we meet again online next week. By then you should have looked at all the things that are posted in Module 1, including watching videos, looking at assignments, whatever. There are instructions in the Module 2 overview. Read those, and that tells you exactly what to do. If you haven't looked at the syllabus, look at the syllabus. We discussed the norms a little bit tonight. Bring any questions, comments to class next week. We'll probably spend another week or 2 to make sure people have had time to look at that. We're all on the same page on that. So there'll be some conversation about that next week. One of the major assignments, the most significant assignment in the course, is something I call a resource audit. There's about 3 to 4 parts to the resource audit. I would suggest you look in the Dropbox at the resource audit assignment, read the assignment sheet as soon as you can so you get an idea of what you're going to be doing, because the first part of the resource audit is going to require you to collect some information about your school system, and you're going to have some interviews, some meetings with some people, probably in the central office, maybe some with building principals, in order to get the answers to those questions. So you don't have a lot of time to be waiting around to do that, because you're going to be at the mercy of other people that are going to have to help you collect that information. So my strong suggestion, is you take a look at this resource audit assignment so you're starting to get clear who you're going to need to talk to get the answers to these questions, because you're probably not going to be familiar with some of these financial practices in your district. You're going to have to probably learn that information from somebody in your system. And then we have a Module 6 that has a tab that says January 14th, and it tells you specifically which kinds of things you should be doing to get ready for the next session. So here's my last slide, I think. Here's our summary, our putting it all together slide for tonight. If you got technology issues, let's get those addressed this week so we're kind of done with that, and that doesn't cause any more grief for anybody. As I just mentioned about the resource audit, you're going to have to collect the information probably from several people. So let's start getting yourself organized on exactly how you're going to go about getting the information for the resource audit. I have everything set up for you. Oh, that's good, Shelley. I see your comment there. Last slide, no. Good. She gets an A. Back to seriousness here, item 3. Unless I've made a mistake, and those of you who were students last semester, which is probably almost all of you, if not all of you, you notice that they've changed the format for D2L. So I had to do a lot of work in a short amount of time because they did this over Christmas, and they didn't let us have access to our courses for several days. So I didn't have as much time as I wanted to go over it as many times as I wanted to. So it's possible I've made a mistake or 2 in setting up this course, but I have put, unless I made a mistake, I've put every assignment that is submitted or posted for points that I'm going to be assessing is on the course calendar. And they're on the home page, there is a course calendar, and there should be a running record. You can produce a running record to know every assignment and when it's due. So there's just not a reason for anybody to mess up on an assignment, the dates are already there. They're not going to change unless we have inclement weather or something, and I feel a dose of generosity coming on and you get more time. All the assignments are already there. No assignments are going to be added unless we find that there's areas that you need extra help, assistance, and we maybe need to trade. But again, I've been doing this so many times, I don't think that that's going to be the case. So I've got it all set up for you. If you just spend a little bit of time up front here to make sure you've got the lay of the land, you'll be good. We always start on time. The live sessions will always start right at 5:30. They will end before 7:15 every time. Tonight it looks like it's going to end with about 6:20. And as I said probably about 45 minutes ago, if you can't make it, sky won't fall, but as a professional courtesy and out of my concern for your learning, please let me know when you can't make it so I can try to make sure you have not been left behind. But the good news is we have an archive that is the next best thing to being there. I think that used to be like an old AT&T commercial or something, wasn't it? Or am I the only one who's old enough in the room to the next best thing to being there? So this is one of those moments when you're supposed to go along with me. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay, you guys must be all under like 50 years old or something if you don't know what I'm talking about, which, okay, I'm old. So anyway, this is the end of my prepared part of the agenda. So as we would do for the rest of the semester, this is a time where I would say, if you don't have any questions at this point, I think you should know what you need to do, and you have a wonderful week, and I will talk with you next week. If you do have questions, I'll stay online and respond to those, but if you have no questions, you're welcome to sign off, and we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Be safe, stay warm, and have a great evening. And Jean, I think I saw a question from you. Do you want to vocalize it, or do you want to type it?
Dr. Nixon.
Good night to everybody else that's leaving.
This is
Go ahead, Jean.
Okay, so I am, of course, in the research phase of gathering stuff for my dissertation, and the topic is finance, but I'm having some trouble whittling the question down. I mean, and I'm afraid that I'm in over my head, and I need a little bit of advice or maybe some guidance, because you're the finance guru, and hint, hint, I hope that you become my chair. I'm just putting that out there right now. But I guess what I've done thus far is a historical overview of the statutory and the case law. That's what my lit review is, and it's huge. And I've only done, I think I took four different states and traced what happened and where we are now. But now I'm